All right, so who doesn't love a good soft pretzel, right? But let's be real, getting that perfect chewy inside, that gorgeous brown crust, it can feel kind of intimidating to make at home.
Yeah, it's funny how some things just seem easier to leave to, like the professionals.
Totally. Like, I'm not trying to open a pretzel stand here, just looking for a win in my own kitchen, and that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. Homemade soft pretzels. We're going to break it down, make it completely approachable.
Exactly, because honestly, once you understand the why behind each step, it all makes so much more sense. And suddenly, you're not just following a recipe, you're kind of like conducting a delicious science experiment.
I love that. So no more just blindly tossing ingredients together. We're talking pretzel precision here. Speaking of precision, the first thing our recipe mentions is using warm water. But not just any warm. It's got to be between 105 and 115 degrees. Why so specific?
Okay, so this is where our little friend yeast comes into play. Yeast is crucial for that airy, soft texture, but it can be a little, high maintenance. Think of it like this. Yeast is basically a bunch of teeny tiny chefs, and that warm water, that's their wake-up call.
Okay, I kind of love that visual.
Right. But seriously, the temperature has to be just right, too cold, and those little chefs are going to sleep through their shift. Dough won't rise. You're basically toast, or not toast, I guess. Too hot, and, well, you've basically boiled them alive.
Poor little chef.
Yeah, not a good look. That specific temperature range, 105 to 115, it's the sweet spot. It wakes them up without, any casualties. And they can get to work doing what they do best, which is like fermenting the sugars in the dough and making those awesome air bubbles we want.
So basically, treat the yeast right, and it'll treat you right.
Exactly. Happy yeast, happy pretzels.
Got it. Now, after we've given our yeast friends their perfect temperature bath, it's kneading time. And this recipe doesn't mess around. We're talking a solid 5 to 7 minutes. I gotta admit, my arm usually starts protesting by minute 3. Is all that kneading really necessary?
Okay, so I'm not going to lie, it's a workout, but it is absolutely crucial. And it's not just about building those baking muscles. This is where the magic of gluten development happens.
Right, gluten, that word gets thrown around a lot in baking, but what does it actually do?
It's a protein that forms these long, stretchy strands when you knead dough. Think of it like building a network of tiny rubber bands throughout your dough.
Oh, okay, I'm with you.
And those rubber bands, that's the gluten. It gives the dough structure so it doesn't just collapse on itself. And it also gives you that amazing chewy texture you want in a soft pretzel. You skimp on the kneading, you're going to end up with dense, kind of sad pretzels.
Not the goal. All right, so we've been patient with our yeast, we've put in the arm work kneading, and now we're at the part where I always get antsy. The first rise. A whole 1 to 2 hours. Come on.
I know. It feels like forever. You're all excited, ready to pretzel, but patience is key here. Think of it like this. You've woken up your little yeast chefs. Now they need time to really get cooking. That 1 to 2 hours is when they're going to town, fermenting those sugars, releasing carbon dioxide, and making your dough nice and puffy.
So that's why my dough is always flat if I try to rush it.
Exactly. And our source actually is a great tip for this. If your kitchen's a little chilly, try using a turned-off oven with a bowl of hot water inside to create a warm, draft-free environment. It's like a little sauna for your dough.
Oh, I've done that before with bread. It works surprisingly well. Okay, the rise is done. We've survived the wait, and now comes the moment of truth. Shaping the pretzels. I gotta be honest, my first attempts looked more like abstract art than actual pretzels. Any tips from a pro?
First of all, don't worry. We've all been there. It definitely takes a bit of practice to get those perfect twists. But you know what? Even a wonky-looking pretzel tastes just as good.
It's what's on the inside that counts. Or, well, I guess in this case, it's about how good it tastes with the dipping sauce.
Exactly. Speaking of which, this is where things get really interesting, the baking soda bath. I remember the first time I saw this in a recipe, I thought, am I really about to dip dough into boiling water? What is this sorcery?
Right. It does sound kind of strange.
But trust me, it's pure genius.
Yeah.
This little step is what gives pretzels that signature tangy flavor and that gorgeous deep brown crust.
Seriously, it's not just for looks.
Nope. The science behind it is pretty cool, actually. So the baking soda solution, it reacts with the surface of the dough, raises the pH level, and that's what creates something called the Maillard reaction during baking.
Wait, the Maillard reaction, that rings a bell.
It's basically a chemical reaction between amino acids and sugars that happens at high heat. And what it does is create hundreds, literally hundreds, of different flavor compounds. Plus, it creates that beautiful browning you see on bread, seared steaks, and yes, our beloved pretzels. The baking soda bath just enhances that reaction, giving pretzels that unique color and a much deeper, more complex flavor.
Okay, so it's not just a pretzel trick. There's some serious food chemistry going on here.
Exactly. It's all about science.
All right, I'm convinced. Baking soda bath, here we come. So we give them a quick dip and then straight into the oven.
Yep. And this is where we got to keep a close eye on them. We're looking for that perfect golden brown color. And the recipe says that usually means an internal temperature of about 190 degrees.
Yes, the trusty thermometer. Can't go wrong with a little temperature check.
Exactly.
Amazing. And then the moment we've all been waiting for, we get to enjoy these pretzel masterpieces.
With a sprinkle, of course, salt, of course.
Of course. And maybe some spicy mustard for dipping.
Oh, yeah. Or a good beer cheese sauce.
All right, stop. You're making me hungry. You know, this whole deep dive has got my wheels turning. Why stop at the classic salt pretzel? What about experimenting with different toppings?
Ooh, I like where you're going with this.
Right. What about like an everything bagel seasoning on top? Or even going sweet with some cinnamon sugar?
See, this is what I love about baking. There are endless possibilities. You can really get creative and make it your own.
Exactly. So there you have it, folks. The secrets of soft pretzel success revealed. Now go forth and make some pretzel magic.